Thank you. Hello, I'm Elisa Monsellato. So today I will say some words about how to develop an audience engagement plan. I will talk about some theoretical references important for my work, for my job. I will try to tell you about a case study, and then I will try to say some words about tools useful for developing an audience engagement plan. Let me introduce myself before. I'm graduated in Design of Cultural Processes at the Faculty of Economics in the University of Salento. And I'm a coordinator in Puglia for ICOM, that is the International Council of Museums, designing in my passion and my job. So I studied for designing cultural processes. Since 2013, I'm in 34esimo Fuso APS, that is a small association that wants to become a small company working in the field of cultural management. In these 10 years, we have been working in several areas, and in particular we are focusing on educational programs for small museums and libraries, in social innovation processes, in cultural heritage management, and also in cultural planning for public administration. And in the last years, we have been working also in consulting and facilitation for participatory processes for cultural institutions. So we can say that we mainly work in the field of audience development, that is a strategic and dynamic process of broadening and diversifying audiences, improving all the overall conduction of fruition. In recent years, we are focusing more and more on audience engagement instead of audience development, because the creative role of public is now fundamental. So we try every day to build communities around cultural institutions, because involving the public in the decision-making processes is the most important thing to do if we want to be relevant for our community. And because digital is not just an add-on to our business, but with digital we can creatively engage audiences and create real experiences, unforgettable experience concerning cultural institutions. Okay, I would like to share with you some of the theoretical references that are the most important for me to develop my projects. In particular, through my work, I try to implement every day 4 specific theories. The first one is the Faro Convention. Do you know the Faro Convention? Have you ever heard about the Faro Convention? Faro Convention is the most important reference for me, because it elevates access to cultural heritage to a human right. It has been ratified in Italy just in 2020, and it is a framework convention that emphasizes the important aspects of cultural heritage in relation to the human rights and democracy. Faro Convention, promotes a broader understanding of cultural heritage and its relationship with its communities and society. The Convention encourages to recognize that objects and places are not in themselves what is important. They are important because the meaning and uses people attach to them and the value they represent. So, this convention says that in the Article 5 that anyone, alone or collectively, has the right to contribute to the enrichment of cultural heritage. While in the Article 12, it says that cultural organization has the duty to promote actions to improve access to cultural heritage, particularly for young people and disadvantaged people, in order to increase awareness of its value, the need to conserve and preserve it, and the benefit that they can be derived from it. So you will see through my project, I will try to make these principle reals, and I will tell you later how. Another reference important for our activities is the cultural participation theory by Nina Simone. I suggest you a useful book named The Participatory Museums, in which she tried to highlight 4 levels of participation. Nina Simone says that a cultural organization has 4 strategies to carry out participation and audience engagement. The first one includes all projects in which visitors can contribute with their own ideas of culture. So visitors are solicited to provide limited and specific items, actions or ideas to an institutionally controlled process. Comment boards are generally considered a contribution project. Have you ever leave a comment on during your cultural experience in a museum, for example? No? Okay. The second level of participation concerns collaborative projects. Sorry, io sto andando avanti con... sì. Ok. A collaborative project includes all those projects where visitors are invited to play a role as an active partners in the implementation of institutional projects designed from A to Z from institution itself. So in this context, visitors' choices, for example, on specific topics to be explored and contents resulting from those choices are the classic example of such an approach. So the first is contribution project and then collaborative project. The third level of participation includes all those projects in which community cooperates with a cultural institution. So community members work together with the staff from the beginning to the end, from the beginning to devise and define the goals of a cultural project and create a program based on collective interest. Museum leaders work with visitors to co-produce exhibits, for example, and program based on community interest in the institution's collections. So this is the third level of participation. The last, the fourth, regards those hosted projects in which institution makes its space and services available to host programs fully developed and implemented by user groups. So I make you see them all again. Contribution projects, collaborative projects, cooperative projects, and hosted projects. These are the 4 levels of participation. Another theory is the cultural convergence theory. Have you ever heard about that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to explain it to us?
I don't know if I could in English.
Yes?
It's very...
Please help me.
Basically, to the microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, cultural convergence is the way that the different cultural tropes are connecting and mixing each other to create a new level, new standard of culture. Basically,
Okay.
something like this. So there is, in modern times, there is no one specific type of culture, but the different cultures are mixing together, different medias are mixing together to create new standard of modern culture, something like this?
Yes, of course.
Did I explain it
Perfect.
well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very well, thank you. What's your name, sorry? Mateus said, the cultural convergence is an expression denoting an emerging pattern of relationships that intervenes, as he said, entertainment, advertising, brands, and user in a creativity and surprising way. So the model has three main components. But they have all been said already. Transmedia entertainment, which describes the flow of narratives, images, features, and information that reaches users from different communication platforms. Then participatory culture, which indicates how users interact with content and medium producers to explore the territory of communication. And in the end, the experiential marketing, that is all the key paths that we need to carry out to make an experience unforgettable. Okay, the last reference theory, and that is very important for me, as I work mainly in social innovation processes, is concerns cultural welfare. Have you ever heard about cultural welfare? No? In particular, this report of the World Health Organization says something relevant for every cultural operators. Daisy Frankfurt and Sauer Finn say that the involvement of the population in cultural activities has positive impacts on well-being and health, from prevention of disease and to their treatment, with economic benefits to the healthcare system and social benefits in inequality mitigation. So they say that if we involve our community in cultural processes, we can reach economic benefits and social benefits concerning their health and their wellness. Okay, now I would like to introduce some keywords. So what does it mean to apply all these theories to cultural heritage? It means that we can speak about a phenomena that is the democratization of culture. That is, cultural heritage becomes common good and no longer belonging to a narrow circle of scholars and connoisseurs. So everyone can contribute in creating new meanings and cultural communities. It means also that every day we state cultural heritage social role. Today, cultural institutions have a social responsibility because they are places in which we can educate, to collaborate in the development of more fair and inclusive society. So implementing participatory, inclusive and sustainable policies means recognizing a cultural and social value that goes beyond the economic one. It means also that we can work for edutainment, which is a neologism. Have you ever heard about edutainment? This word is formed from the word education and the word entertainment, and it identifies the set of products that we create for facilitating the transmission of knowledge through the entertainment. It means also that we work daily for accessibility. So we work to make cultural contents more and more metabolizable, understandable, and accessible with respect to audiences. When we talk about accessibility, we refer to a spatial accessibility, an economic accessibility, a mental and psychological accessibility, and a cognitive related to competencies. So, the role of cultural institution is to provide visitors a context to easily learn and to construct their own meaning of what they see. Who is our visitor? So now we try to introduce another important word for our argument. Someone said that you cannot treat a visitor as an individual until you know what makes him unique. So a direct consequence for audience engagement strategy is the study of our audience. Visitors do not constitute an indistinct whole, but they are made up of groups of people differing in age, cultural backgrounds, and interests. So a mix of characteristics that influences their behavior in cultural enjoyment. So we need to study our audiences through audience analysis, questioning, and data collection technique that are the basis for any type of audience engagement plan or marketing action in general. Bollo and Hadley distinguish audiences in 4 groups. The first group is composed of central audiences, and it is characterized by a relation of knowledge, assiduity, and involvement toward a given cultural good or service. Their involvement does not require a breaking down of cultural, social, or perceptual barriers. Then we have occasional audiences, in which we find occasional and inconstant relationship toward a given cultural good or product, and these are audiences that have average activation cost. It means that we have to spend some money to reach people belonging to this group. We need to invest our money to reach them, to engage them. Then we've got potential audiences, in which we can find all those people who do not currently purchase, enjoy, or consume a specific cultural product, even though they could potentially be interested in doing so. So the removal of barriers needs high activation costs. And then we've got non-publics, the segment of non-users of a particular service, difficult to intercept due to the lack of interest. So this group is made by all those people who don't like our products and services and our cultural institution. So it is more difficult to reach them and to involve them in our daily activities. Another model about audiences is the one made by Cristina da Milano and Alessandra Gariboldi, and they distinguish cultural audiences in 3 groups. The first one is the audience by habit, then the audience by choice, and then the surprise audience. So they are more or less the same of the one that we talked before. Creative Europe suggests some strategy to reach and engage this audience in both the first and the second model. So the first strategy we can carry out is broadening, and it refers to audiences that we already attend our activities. Then we've got another strategy that is deepening, and it refers to the strategies aimed at current audiences, those by habit, but who can be more involved in taste cultivation perspective. And then we've got the third strategy, that is diversification, and it refers to strategies aimed at both surprising audiences who don't attend our activities. So we have to try to the way to involve them and to reach them. Always Creative Europe identifies some tools to be used depending on the strategy we want to implement. And the first is place, and it refers to those projects and strategies developed by the organization that focus on a place factor, creating connection and building relation based on a place. Then we've got digital, in which we can find all those projects that focus on digital factor as a strategic element to reach audiences. Then we've got capacity building, in which we find all those projects that invest in the people factor, so they invest in empowerment of staff skills and competencies to engage people. And then we've got active participation co-creation project. As you can imagine, an audience development approach implies and produces changes on 3 levels of every organization. The first is the organization, so audience development approach implies changes in the organization set, on the artistic and cultural production, and on the target audiences and community. Now I would like to tell you something about a project in which you can find everything that has been said so far. And the project is a Swap Museum, a project on cultural participation founded in 2016. This project is an active citizenship tool aimed at young people under 13. It supports the socializing and experiential function of the museum, and it transforms them into an incubator of creativity for the enhancement of local talents and skills. It uses social media and technologies as form of collective learning. Swap Museum was awarded in 2022 with the Europa Nostra Prize as a good European practice for young participation and active volunteer in the cultural sphere.
Un'utopia. Non solo si proponeva di avvicinare i giovani ai luoghi della cultura, ma voleva iniziare a farlo da un territorio particolare, che è quello della Puglia, nel profondo sud Italia, dove le indagini sulla relazione tra giovani e cultura mostravano che il 70% dei ragazzi non aveva mai visitato un museo e il 60% di loro non aveva mai letto un libro. Affrontare questa problematica partendo dalla nostra regione ci ha dato la possibilità di sperimentare tanto e di affrontare la sfida di petto. Il punto di partenza è stato la creatività del team, che ha proposto una serie di attività non specialistiche per avvicinare gli adolescenti, come ad esempio la creazione di una playlist musicale ispirata alla collezione di un museo, o la raccolta della memoria storica degli anziani di un paese, o ancora la realizzazione di fumetti ispirati alle opere più belle di un museo. I ragazzi che hanno aderito alle nostre call lanciate sui social hanno cambiato totalmente la loro percezione di musei, siti archeologici e castelli, che sono state le nostre e le loro basi operative. I luoghi della cultura, se fino a quel momento per loro erano realtà quasi impenetrabili, con contenuti da vedere ma non toccare, con Swap Museum sono diventati per loro dei luoghi di ispirazione e di creazione, luoghi in cui coltivare la propria creatività. I ragazzi hanno scoperto che questi luoghi sono vivi, sono scatole di memoria che conservano storie da fare proprie e reinterpretare e che soprattutto possono rappresentare il centro della vita sociale. Dall'altra parte, i musei si sono rinnovati attraverso i loro occhi. Gli swapper, così chiamiamo i ragazzi che rispondono alle nostre iniziative, sono poi premiati con dei benefits da spendere in cultura, buoni per l'acquisto di libri, voucher per cinema o teatro, concerti o ancora biglietti per viaggi studio all'estero. Tutti premi volti a innescare un circolo virtuoso in cui la cultura premia con altra cultura. Questa è la nostra idea, questo è il nostro SWAP. Dal 2016 ad oggi, SWAP Museum ha raggiunto 61 istituzioni museali della nostra regione, è sostenuto da 14 aziende e conta 670 adolescenti che hanno trascorso 22.000 ore negli spazi museali.
Thank you. Okay, SWAP Museum is the project by which we started working in audience engagement. We decided to start from the non-publics of adolescents, teenager, and it has been a challenge for us. But we've got a lot of good results, and we are very happy about that. So, as you have seen, before the COVID pandemic, museums were our operational base. Because of the COVID, the scenario totally changed. So today I would say some words about the strategy carried out during the pandemic. In that period, we had on one side teenagers more and more isolated with the consequent impact on their mental health, and on the other side, museums were forced to close and they had to manage an increase in marginality. So we decided to turn these problems into opportunities by rethinking our engagement strategy and choosing to move all the activities online using free digital tools. So we try to engage our teenagers moving to digital. The first step was to strengthen the digital skills of museum staff by transferring them tools to create virtual tours. So operators in our small museums were not used to using digital tools in audience development since that moment. So they learned how to tell their collections in a virtual environment. The second step, swappers, our teenagers, improve their digital and soft skills, carrying out activities such as social challenges, the organization of virtual events for other teenagers, emotional audio guides and captions, and digital treasure hunts. So the availability of a digital environment allowed them to interact with the team's members in problem solving, in brainstorming, in co-creating ideas for museums' digital transformation. So here in the picture, you can see an output of an activity made for the Museum of the Radio in a small country in Puglia. Swappers built a virtual game like the Game of the Goose, and they challenged their friends online. Next step was to increase digital storytelling, and the web strategy of the project was redesigned, and swappers were actively involved in its planning and managing. So an example, swappers made an horoscope about museums to engage other young people, and they made also some dancing videos for TikTok. So this allowed us to enlarge the target group as young people who lived out of Puglia joined the activities online. All the activities were supported by free digital tools, easy to use, such as Google Meet for virtual workspace, ThinkLink for virtual tours, social networks like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and platforms like YouTube, Canva, Spotify, Easy Travel, according to the specific purpose of the activities. In those months, we have involved 116 participants who spent 2,000 hours in virtual museums, and after each activities, an evaluation survey was applied to swappers. The aim was to evaluate their experience and also the strategy, the new strategy, and the new instruments' efficacy. So we wanted to know if we were able, with a digital strategy, with a new digital strategy, to engage our teenagers. The survey shows a high level of involvement and participation in the online experience, providing the ideas to participants of being at the museum, visiting it in an effective way. The survey underlined also an high level of satisfaction about technological solution adopted, mostly because young had the opportunity to meet other people who live far from them and to give space to their creativity and curiosity in a period of lockdown. So all the data collected let us understand that our digital strategy mitigated on one side the risk of isolation of young people through team working, common purpose and co-production, and the increasing marginality of museum thanks to the activity carried out remotely with the involvement of museum staff. Museums operators updated their digital skills, developed their creativity and the content, and developed content to engage other young people. They also increased their networks. So the COVID pandemic forced museums to close, and for this reason we invested in digital engagement to keep on engaging young people. And the project has become a transmedial experience and a method to increase active participation, enjoyment and emotional engagement in virtual and in real life. So Swap Museum digital strategy produced changes on the three levels before mentioned. On the organization, as we had to change our strategy, improving our digital competencies. On the artistic and cultural production, as museums moved on digital platforms, providing digital contents, and on the target audiences and communities, as everyone contributed building new meanings and instruments and tools to tell the cultural heritage. So this is my case study, and now I would like to show you the tools that I use to develop this kind of project. The first one is the digital engagement framework, but I think also the only one that I'm at that, okay. Digital engagement framework, do you know it already? Have you ever heard about this tool? No? It's a framework that helps organizations to identify values, opportunities, strategies, and processes to engage audiences in a process of co-creating value. To develop a successful digital engagement strategy, we need mainly three things. The first is the support of our team, their energy and enthusiasm. We also need creativity and project management skills to turn the framework into actions and operational action. And thirdly, we need to ask and answer the right questions. So this tool helps need to be the 10 different types of questions to be answered. And these questions range from visionary to operational. In particular, they are divided into 10 blocks. The first one is about audience. So I have to ask myself, who are my visitors and who I want to reach? The second block is about asset, tangible and intangible assets. So why should people choose my organization is the second question that I have to answer. The third is about strategy of outreach. So how can I make the first connection with my audiences? And the strategy of engagement. How can I develop my relationship with my visitors? Then I have to reflect on metrics. So how can I measure my success? And then the channels. So where can I reach? Where can I find my audiences? Which technologies, media, tools I need? Some of the last question concerns guidelines. So which are my core values and my objective? So what do I want to achieve with my audience engagement framework? In the end, I have to reflect on my vision, the vision of my organization. So what will people say about me in the future is the last question. And how will society be different in 5 years' time? So I need to focus on external developments that can affect on my organization. These 10 blocks can be merged into 4 building blocks, and I usually start from the first one, that is about the organization, vision and objectives and values, because it is the button on which I can build my audience engagement strategy. Se il tempo è finito, Mino, se il tempo è finito io mi fermo qui. Ok, va bene. Is everything clear? Okay, I will show you how I answered to these 10 questions in to build Vivas, that is a project created to involve over 50 people in care of the cultural heritage in 3 towns of Salento region. This area is characterized by an aging population, an high epidemiological risk of environment causes, and a rich cultural landscape and environmental heritage. So we wanted to involve people with more than 50 years. So the first question I answered was, where will you be in 5 years? And I answered that Viva aims to build a participatory ecosystem for over 50s, particularly widowers, focused on caring for cultural identified assets of Castigliano de' Greci, Corigliano, Cursi. My goal is that welfare and reintegration of widowers into community, as well as the tourism and cultural promotion of the area. How do I measure it? Building some indicator. With SMART indicator. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So in 3 years, I would like to reach 300 people, 1,000 young volunteers, 50 university students, and so on. Then I answered the question about my values. So I would like to build my strategy on this principle, on these values: the welfare for all, the intergenerational dialogue, the exchange of knowledge, care for collective material and cultural goods, mutual help, and intersectionality. Then I answered the question about assets. Which are my tangible and intangible assets? Why should people choose my organization? Because I've got 3 libraries, 2 museums, and an eco-museum. I've got a strong theater tradition, multifunctional spaces, cohesive volunteer groups, and asset management entities already active in innovation processes. Then I answered the question about my visitors. Who are my visitors? Who do I want to reach? And I built my buyers personas. Do you know this tool, buyers personas? Okay. I built my buyers persona, and then I studied reports about the target group. I also interviewed the department in public administration involved in social services. And I built the identity of my user, that is Antonietta, between 15 and 70 years old. she wants to meet other people and do activities to learn new things, activities to devote time to the community, and she uses WhatsApp and Facebook to communicate with her friends. So I build her personality, and this helps me to build the channel on which I can find there. So I moved to the blog about strategies. How can I develop my relationship with my visitors? For example, with a participatory production of a short film, The Country of Imaginai, that tells about a slow life in that country, in those territories. I also answered the question about outreach strategy. That means how can I reach for the first time my audiences, and so how can I make the first connection with new audiences. And I imagine to organize, to carry out social events, so fun and recreational activities aimed at introducing non-users for the first time in the space, in the library spaces. So we carried out community raffle, burraco tournament, and cooking classes, embroidery courses, and stuff like that, to reach for the first time our audiences. And in the end, I built my communication strategy. So I answered the question, where can I share my content to reach and to engage people? Which technologies and media and tools I need? And so we used a WhatsApp channel, broadcast channel, billboards, newspaper, and word of mouth. These are our communication channel to reach our participant. And that's it. I prepared a workshop to make with you, but it's not possible. I'm sorry. Thank you.